Central Ohio, and welcome wherever you're watching, anywhere out there on the World Wide Web. This is the Sports Mix. My name's Brian Skowronski, and over the next several minutes, we are going to dive full force into the high school football playoff scene. We also got some MOAC Conference champions on the way, tell you about all the first team selections out there, and we are back with recipes for success with our guy G-Man. But first, we got some football bracketology. We're going to drop some knowledge on you right here and now. Erik Will is in the building, along with OH reporter Travis Berardi. So we're going to take a look at 5 brackets today, gentlemen. Let's begin with Division 3, Region 10. This is a great one. Go ahead and pull that up, and a lot of good teams still left out there. You look at the top seed, Columbian. They've been rolling since that one loss that they had to undefeated Bellevue. Down at the bottom, we got right here in our own backyard, Ashland. They're still moving on, got a big matchup with Norwalk. When you look at all those mix of teams, Erik, who stands out to you? Who would you say is among the top contenders?
Well, I mean, obviously you got to start with Columbia, and they've had an incredible year, highly ranked Division III most of the year. Like you said, the one loss coming to a really good Bellevue team. I like Ashland. I think that they've played well. I was really impressed that they were able to score as much as they did on the Mansfield senior defense. That gave me a little bit of renewed hope in their offense, just because of the fact that you can score on that defense. Mansfield senior's defense is going to be as good as anybody you're going to see.
Sure.
I really like Norwalk as well. If I was, making a pick on that game specifically, I mean, that's a back and forth 50-50. I think that I'd probably land on Norwalk maybe just a touch more. I like their conference rigor that they've gone through. They're definitely battle tested. I think they're playing really high quality football right now. I love Holy Name as well. I think that Norwalk-Holy Name matchup's looking pretty good. I'm picking West Holmes again. I think all of us on the set here feel pretty good about West Holmes. I think they were really undervalued in their ranking. I think that's the biggest concern I have here. They should have never been a 12. So I feel pretty good about West Holmes, and I like West Holmes and Columbian to meet as well.
Yeah, I agree with you. Norwalk, I think they're peaking at the right time. They knocked off a really good Clyde team at the end of the season. They've rolled Copley and now take on an Ashland squad. Ashland did impress me last week. We thought Mansfield Senior could have pulled off the upset there, but Ashland just took care of business. They got Declan Rower and Hartley back, so that's going to be a good matchup. But West Holmes, I think they remind me of Clyde from last year. One of those lower seeds that are just extremely hot at the moment. They have playmakers on both sides of the ball. And I could see them, moving on and play Columbian and then giving Columbian a really tough test there in a regional semifinal.
Yeah, I think sometimes people think when you pick like that, we're looking at the Ashland Norwalk games, I think we both feel like all 3 of us probably feel like that might be the most contested game, or at least the one that we're having the most difficult picking. It's a flip of a coin. If Ashland wins that game, it's not a surprise. I mean, obviously they're the higher seed. But I just feel like Norwalk, man, I really like that SBC schedule. I think you get a mix of great defenses and diversified offenses. And I really like what Coach Fox is doing up there late. He's a good late season and a good playoff coach.
Yeah, they won 4 of their last 5, and when you look at the combined records of the teams that they have lost to, 23-1, folks. So it's been really challenging for the Truckers all season long. But I think for some of the reasons that Travis was just outlining, the fact that they got Ethan Hartley back, it just brings a whole different dimension to them. They're a much more confident team when he plays. I'm picking the Arrows in that matchup, but I think it's a tough one, certainly. And then I'm with you guys both. West Holmes, man, they're peaking at the right time. This is a team that can score the football. 35 or more in 5 of their games this season. So I think the Knights are rocking and rolling at the right time. Their only 2 losses are to D2 opponents. Worcester, who I think is really good, and then New Philly, who I think is still playing in Division II playoffs right now. So look for the Knights to be that Cinderella story, if you will, as the number 12 seed and match up with Columbia, and that's going to be a fun one. And Holy Name, they get there a lot. So that's probably the team that I would pick to take down Bowling Green. So a lot of fun in D3 Region 2. Let's move on and check out the Region 14 in Division 4 bracket where, this thing is loaded, baby. You want to talk about a bunch of good teams. There's many competitors out here. Number 1, of course, Bellevue. They're still undefeated, Keegan Ray. And then Shelby on the bottom half of the bracket. They're undefeated too, and we talk about them a lot. They're really well put together. Offense, defense, they got it all. Special teams as well. And then some really tricky games right there in the middle. Clyde is the 11th seed. I mean, they're probably undervalued a little bit too, defending state champs. And Van Wert, Keystone, at least on paper, both of those teams, I think they're both still undefeated right now. So some good matchups this weekend.
And I think your interview with Coach after the Shelby win on Saturday night, Shelby, they had the week off. I think it helped them out that they had to play a 4-quarter game because most of their games in the regular season were running clock games. And I think that helped them out. I think that got them more prepared for this matchup against Firelands. I have Shelby moving on to that, and I have Clyde. I want to see that rematch in the regional semifinal with Clyde. I mean, Shelby had that big lead in the first half, and Clyde just rolled on in the second half and rolled to a state championship game. So that's going to be a big one. I have Clyde against Huron because Clyde, being in that SBC division, just it's tough, and I think like West Holmes, they're really underseeded.
I like Shelby bigger this week than last week. I think that they're going to be back. They're healthy. They're back in the flow of a traditional game week. Their defensive line is sick. Their backers are good. Their secondary is becoming more experienced. And when I look at Firelands, I think the recipe to beat Shelby has to be balance. And I think that Firelands, in my opinion, is a little bit too much one-dimensional. There's a lot of eye back, but they run a lot of 12 personnel, things like that, meaning, you're getting 2 backs and a tight end, something like that. So I just feel like you're not going to be able to just line up and beat Shelby running the football unless you are really good. And I don't know if Firelands is going to be able to control Shelby's defensive line. So I like Shelby. I don't want to say running clock, but I like them big. They're going to be in control of this game. If they're not, I would be shocked. And then Huron Clyde, that's the game. I told you on Monday when we were here, man.
That's a big one.
That's just out. It's in our footprint, but it is just a step outside the footprint. But this is one of those, flip of a coins. I'm going to pick Huron. I think Huron's going to win this game.
Yeah, I like the Tigers too, specifically because they're playing at home. Looking at Fireland's regular season schedule, it's really weak. So when they go up against a team like Shelby, I think it might be eye-opening for you. I'm with you. I think they'll probably beat them a little bit worse than they did for Rossford, even though on the podcast I can't technically pick Shelby. And then Van Wert, I seen that Van Wert, they only got 1 loss all year, and it was by 1 point to Glandorf. Keystone's undefeated, but they got a pretty bad habit of getting into the postseason. Last year, I believe they were 10-0, and Clyde beat them in the first round, and I don't think it was that close. And then Bellevue-Kenton, that's the game that I'm actually most excited about for this round, because I got to see the Wildcats up close, and man, can them boys hit. They got some big dudes. They're confident. They got swag. They like to run their mouth a lot. That's not really Bellevue's MO. They just kind of show up and do their job. So will it get under their skin? I don't know. I'm still picking Bellevue because I believe in Keegan Ray and that offensive line and what they do out there, and of course Ed Nasani, who, I mean, you got to go head-to-head with him. The dude knows what he's doing.
He's the man. And I wish we wouldn't have had those 3 turnovers in the first game. I think Ontario might have been able to. That Ontario-Bellevue game would have been legit. And that would have been a battle of the new school NOL, before it collapsed. And but anyways, you basically got an Ontario-type game against Bellevue. But I have a hard time ever picking against Bellevue in these situations. I just feel like Ed's been the head coach there, I believe, since '91. I mean, his playoff record is stupid. Back before they even expanded it to 8, that guy's getting to regional finals and state final 4s, and I just have the utmost respect for them. And I think Bellevue's getting to the regional final actually without a lot of resistance. That's my opinion.
All right, let's go ahead and move on. We'll check out Division 6, Region 22 now, and we just said that this last region was loaded. I think this is probably the best one that we're going to talk about from top to bottom. There are still so many undefeated teams remaining, including top-seeded Archbald, who's got a really tough game against number 8 Cary. They haven't lost since week 1 in a tough matchup against Colonel Crawford. Down at the bottom, there are the Eagles. They're still unbeaten at 7-0. The number 3 seed Fairview, they're 7-0. Northwood 7-0. I mean, there's a lot of goose eggs out there in the loss column. So I think this one's really up for grabs. What games stand out to you this weekend? Travis, we'll let you go first. What excites you?
That Cary Archbold game, I think I have Cary favored in that one. It's just, I've seen them in person. They are just good. They're balanced on offense. They have a huge defense that showed out against a Crestview team that we thought was legit enough to at least stick with them, but Cary just took care of business, and they're really scary good. And for an 8 seed, one of the scariest 8 seeds I think in the state.
Yeah,
Agreed.
I agree with you 100%. When I look at that, for me, I like the Colonel Crawford Liberty Center because I know Liberty Center, the tradition. Now, if the good news is when you're Colonel Crawford, you're not playing the tradition. You're playing this year's version of Liberty Center. But I think this game will press and will push Colonel Crawford. I do like them. I don't think they're going to lose this game. I've said from the beginning, I think that this is a regional final team, definitely. So I'm still staying with that horse and that pick. But I think that Liberty Center game is going to be tough. I like Northwood as well. I think Northwood's tough. I like Tenora over Columbus Grove. And then let's talk about the top here, Cary Archibald. Archibald plays a lot of they play Wauseon. They play some of the schools up in that area.
Well, here's a fun stat for you guys. The Northwood Fairview game. So far, Fairview, their lowest offensive output this year, 44 points. On the other side, 42 points for Northwood, and both of those teams have been dominant. Both of them have held the other team that they played to less than 2 scores 6 times this year. So that game, that's dominant versus dominant going head to head. Who's the real dominator? We'll find out.
And wasn't it Northwood that last year went 10-0 and didn't even make the playoffs?
Yeah, two teams in this bracket last year went 10-0 and didn't even get in the postseason. So that's what is cool about this year in some ways, the fact that, like you said, Clyde, no way were they going to get in. They just played too hard of a regular season schedule. They didn't have the wins and the points to get in this year. But the fact that they're in there, boy, you can't count them out.
Right. Well, and they're the reigning champions. There's something we said. There's a lot of guys that have won a lot of games. They have a lot of experience in that locker room, and it's that way even with Liberty Center. Looking at it, when you look at that group, those guys have won a lot of football games. The expectation there is they win football games, and there's something that can't be discounted.
All right. Speaking of winning football games, let's go to D7 Region 25, where the defending regional champion Lucas Cubs are hanging out there at the number 2 seed. They got Independence coming up. JFK Catholic versus St. Paul. I think that's the most exciting game on the schedule in this one over the weekend. And then McDonald Latonia. That's a good 6-3 matchup. And then 5-4 Doughton just shut out Plymouth last week, 21-0. We had highlights of that one. Gentlemen, what do you guys like about this?
JFK, I like them over St. Paul. This is a good St. Paul team. It's not a vintage St. Paul. This isn't like something where you're looking at it going, whoa, this is an incredible St. Paul team. They're good. Don't get me wrong. It's a good football team, but I like JFK. I like Dalton over Malvern there. I really like that. Kurt talks about, he's sold me on the Wayne County League. And the more that I went back and did research on it, man, it's a bear of a conference. I would say that and the N10 both are really good. Just one's west, one's east. I like McDonald. I think McDonald plays a heck of a schedule. I think they're always competitive. They have a lot. They actually have some guys coming back off last year's team that actually took Lucas to the wire last year, and I like that rematch in the regional semis.
Took it right out of my mouth. Yep.
And I am picking Lucas over Independence, and we're calling that game this week. Just doing the homework, looking at it. I like the pedigree and the mentality that come out of those Cubs, man. They're built for this situation. If it's a 50-50 or if it's a type of play that could go either way, if it's a game that can go either way, there's a quarter that's going to be a tough grind-out quarter. I pick Lucas to win those street fights, and I'm picking him this week as well.
Yeah, easily with Lucas. And the game you covered last week against Cuyahoga Heights, this is kind of like the rematch tour for Lucas, because if they do win and McDonald wins, it's the second time in this playoffs that Lucas will play somebody they played last year. But Lucas, you were talking about on Monday, I believe, Lucas goes down, scores to go up 14-0 at the break. You're thinking, oh, it's a close game. No, it's more for Lucas like that's a 28-0 game. And what they do in that first half is they'll just wear you down to the point in the second half they can do anything they want. And I think that's what they will do again against Independence. I like McDonald over Latonia just for the fact that we want that rematch again. A knockdown 2-point conversion by Logan Nicewander was the difference between Lucas losing in the first round or making that run to the state final, so that should be a good one. I like Dalton over Malvern. South Central had a comeback late against Malvern, just couldn't finish it off, so I think Dalton should take care of business there. And this is one of those games, I think, for St. Paul. The last few years, they've gone undefeated, 1 or 2 losses, and bowed out in the first and second round. This is one of those tests where if they can make it to this regional semifinal team, they could possibly get out of that mindset.
The upset.
So I think It's going to be close, but I'm still going to take JFK. I switched you up there just because St. Paul's, they're on a third string quarterback.
Well, JFK, they're beatable. I mean, they got 2 losses on this year, but if you look at their schedule, they're D7, playing D5s and D3s and stuff like Lucas.
If St. Paul had their starting quarterback from the beginning of the year playing, I would say they had a really good shot at the upset, but I mean, they're dinged up at the quarterback position, and I think that's going to be the difference, but still St. Paul's going to put up a fight.
I am with you guys. I think it's going to be chalk this weekend, with the exception of I'm taking McDonald to win on the road as well. Just looking at the opponents that Latonia has played, all D7s with the exception, I think, one D6 who actually beat them. So not really tested per se. They're used to playing these small schools. It makes a difference when you're a Lucas and you're playing D4s every single week. Then when you're finally breaking down the tape, Scott Spitler told me last week, he's like, it just looks slower, like when we actually get to play schools our size. But he did say, do not count out Independence. He compared their athletes on the perimeter very comparably to Ontario. That's what he's going to tell you guys in an interview coming up here in just a few minutes. So who knows, might be a tougher challenge for the Cubs than we all think, but definitely picking Lucas to survive. All right, last one we're going to look at. We're going to stay in D7. Let's check out Region 27, where it is down to the final 8 like it is in all of the brackets. We've got East Knox, Shady Side up in the top right. The top seed, Trimble, they're in it every single year. They're always a terror. Danville is the number 4 seed. They've looked solid so far during their tournament run. And then River versus Eastern, an 11 seed advancing. I think we all know that we love the Bulldogs here on the OH Report, and we're going to have their live stream live and free right here. Travis, you've seen them in person, as have I. Dude, the defense is legit, man. The Dogs can really stop you at the line of scrimmage.
I mean, if it wasn't for an interception, taking it back to the one for Toronto, that's how they punched in their lone score of the game. Other than that, East Knox defense pretty much shut them down. Shady Side, they play in that tough Ohio Valley Athletic Conference, the biggest conference in the country, 55 teams, I believe. But Shady Side plays teams up 2-3 divisions. They lost to a Belair team, and River did as well. I think that's River's only loss was to a Belair team that's still playing in Division 5 right now, and they were state ranked. Also, Danville. I mean, Danville and East Knox, that game 7-6. I mean, both those teams are legit, and they're still in the tournament for a reason. They got a tough test, though, against Newark Catholic. They're one of those perennial powers that make it to at least a regional semifinal, regional final year in, year out. So, I mean, I'm taking the Bulldogs, and I'm taking Danville. Especially, I think East Knox is going to match up with River in a semifinal. And I don't know much about Trimble and Berne Union, so I'm going to go with the 1 seed at least to take on Danville in the other semi.
Yeah, I think Trimble will handle business easily. You're right, Trimble's every year.
Good pick.
Awesome. That's a tough draw for Danville. I like Danville. I'm going to pick Danville, but Newark Catholic is really, really good. There was a guy that I coached with in Columbus that's from Newark Catholic. I followed them a little bit this year from at least the box score, so I could see kind of statistically what they were doing. That's a tough matchup. That's a true 4-5. That's what a 4-5 should look like. I like East Knox over Shady Side, but I think you bring up a great point. Your familiarity with that region of the state, that's a great small division part of the state that a lot of people don't talk about. Like, this is the only one that I think that you can just definitively feel good about is Trimble. All the other ones I think could go either way.
Yeah, a lot of coin flips. I couldn't agree more. I think for Shady Side, the fact that they have to travel up to Howard, that gives the edge to the Bulldogs. Just playing in that environment, I love it, man. They know what they're doing. They got that home cooking, and they got the recipes for success out there for sure. Danville, Newark Catholic, man, I think you almost got to side with the Green Wave just because they've been there a lot. But I guess so has Danville. So, I don't know. It's two pretty good programs. I know that Caden Kalapi, what we saw him do last week, dude, he's a monster. They got some players. That's a tough matchup, but I'm going to side with Erik. Trimble's like the only game that I'm really very confident. Go ahead and put a seal of approval on it. All the other ones, really tough matchups. Speaking of recipes for success, Chef Boyar-G was back in the kitchen. He is cooking, and he has got some new recipes for you folks. Let's check them out right now.
Hey, down here. Tired of being a fat and ugly? Same. Welcome to Recipes for Success with G-Man. All right, boys. First up on the docket, we got the Lucas Cubs hosting Independence. First off, last week I was at Lucas. You know, they have a very, very good offense. You know, they run the ball very well. But first off, they're going to need a little bit of that milk in that clock. This team does a great job of this, running the ball. You know, doesn't give the opportunity to the defense to be able to stop them. And milking that clock is going to go a huge way for the Lucas Cubs. Secondly, line of scrimmage. The Cubs will their way at the point of the attack with their offensive line and defensive line. So for them to win this one at home, they're going to need a little bit of the line of scrimmage. And lastly, those playmaking backs. Ethan Sauter, Ethan Wallace, all those Sauter backs and all those Lucas Cubbies, they need all of it on Friday night. And put a little bit of that into your mixing bowl. After that's all in your mixing bowl, take it over to the baking section and put this one on high heat. You're good to go. As we wait the first concoction to be done, we start with our second bowl. Let's put these fine ingredients away and bring out our next one. Our second game of the week is the East Knox Bulldogs hosting Shadyside. The Bulldogs are gonna need a little bit of Weston Mielek to get that W on Friday. Kid does it all in the receiving game, blocking, and defensively. Definitely gonna need him for a victory. Secondly, Peyton Lester. Bulldogs QB's done it all this year. He's had an amazing year with passing and running the ball, and he also starts at corner to help out that defense. And lastly, speaking of the defense, the East Knox Bulldogs defense is serious. A little bit more of that defense in there, sprinkled in with the defensive line and line of scrimmage, and that'll get you a dub against Shadyside. Psych! On that over to your bowl, baby. Put it on high heat. That's an East Knox W. After you let that puppy bake for a week and a half on 350 heat, your bowl's gonna turn a different color. But don't worry, you're all good. And here's the final product. Some nice, beautiful, flavorful chips, barbecue seasoned. That is a Cubs win and a Bulldog win. Good luck this weekend, and tune back next week for Recipes for Success with G-Man and Storm.
Always appetizing with our man G-Man, and hopefully he's got some bounce back recipes this week. Didn't go so well for the two local schools that he cooked up some concoctions for last week. He did say that the Lucas Cubs, he had a formula for their success. We caught up with their head coach Scott Spitler just a few moments ago. Let's check it out. All right, we've got Scott Spitler joining us now, the head coach of the Lucas Cubs, making their 7th consecutive playoff appearance. So, Coach, it's that second season now out there in Cubs country. Tell me, what does it mean to you to continue to build this tradition, get back into the postseason, and keep getting these dubs?
Well, you know, the big thing is 5 months ago we were wondering if we'd even have a season, and so getting the opportunity to have a season meant a lot to me for my seniors. We've got a great group of seniors that have provided a lot of good leadership and been an integral part of the success we've had the last 3 or 4 years. And so it was important that they get this opportunity. And, you know, the expectation level has been set by the class before them. It seems like we have that tradition of leaving that legacy of expectation, and they're trying to rise up and meet that expectation level.
6 straight games on the road. You get to play in the friendly confines for the first time. You guys, of course, you got that place rocking. What was it like for you on Friday night when you guys took the field until that final whistle?
Just to see the faces of the players, and then just kind of how you could just read it on their faces, and then kind of that extra pep in their step when they took the field to start pregame warm-ups and things. You could just tell that there was just a different atmosphere and different feel for them because of being at home. And then we feel like we've got a really special environment up there on the hill, especially in the fall with the changing of the leaves and everything. And but they would also tell you that it was kind of quiet because we're used to having standing room only there at Bob Wine and Lucas Stadium. So, but it was really nice to get back home, and it was really special for our seniors. And then they went out and played probably a well of a game. I mean, you had Ethan Sauter led us in rushing, and you had Goose Wallace with 2 scores and a 2-point conversion, and then Lane Harper, our senior inside linebacker, led us in tackles. So our seniors really came to play Friday night.
Yeah, it was a nice performance. It took you a little while to get going, but once you did, 35-0, you took care of Cuyahoga Heights. And there's no secret what you guys want to do offensively. It's ground and pound, wear out the opponent. What do you think is the secret sauce for you guys where the opponent knows it's coming, but they still can't do anything about it, Scott? Why can't teams stop you?
Well, I don't know if there's such a thing as they can't stop us, because we've definitely had those situations in time here. But it's about the mentality of establishing the line of scrimmage, and it all comes down to the execution of our offensive line versus their defensive front. And if we can out execute them, then it's going to be a good night. If not, we're going to have difficulty. But we've got total buy-in from the Pee Wee all the way up to our varsity squad, and so our kids expect and have that foundation, in their level of play as far as execution on our offense. So we execute what we do really well because of that. All the way up from second grade till they're in varsity, they're running the same play, so that helps us.
Give me a quick scouting report on Independence. They got to come to your place on Friday night. What do you need to limit or take away from them in order to be victorious again?
Well, I'll tell you what, I'm a team of a lot of length and height, and it seems like everybody on their roster is 6 foot to 6'4", and about anywhere from 185 to 210. Long and lean and very athletic. Their skill position athletes really remind me of what Ontario can put on the field as far as at the wide out, tight end, and running back, quarterback positions. And then up front, long and lean and move really well. They want to spread you horizontally and vertically. So we're going to have to do a very good job of keeping things in front of us. They're very multiple formation-wise, do a lot of shifting and motioning. So getting pre-snap alignments is going to be key. And then we've got to establish the line of scrimmage on the offensive side and take care of football.
Well, the weather, of course, is changing. It's going to be another chilly one on Friday night. Any chance we see you trade in the cargo shorts for some long pants on game day?
Absolutely not.
No change there. Why break tradition if it's working, right?
I think my kids would panic if they saw me in anything other than khaki shorts, because I don't know. That's just that's every coaching staff I've been a part of. We've always wore the khaki shorts with our coaching polos and stuff, and I'm one of those big guys that could sweat in a snowstorm. So we're going to stay with them.
Well, hey, if it's working for you, Coach, and no sense in changing up the fashion now. Lucas Cubs looking to move on to the regional semifinals once again when they take on Independence on Friday night. Their head coach, Scott Spitler, joining us right now. Thanks so much, Coach.
Thank you.
Speaking of those Cubs who are going to be playing at home against Independence, that's one of many live streams that we have coming up this weekend on the OH Report. There it is. They're going to be hosting Independence, the Blue Devils. That all kicks off Friday. We'll have coverage beginning right around 6:50. Our main featured game of the week will have Ashland at home taking on the red-hot Norwalk Truckers. Will the arrows be too sharp, or will the Truckers continue to roll? We'll find out. Shadyside heads to Howard, and East Knox going to take on the Tigers. Big game there. Travis Berardi is going to be on the call for this awesome Division 7 regional quarterfinal. And we've got a regular season game. 2 MOAC foes from Richland County. Clear Fork taking on Ontario. 2 high-powered offenses going toe-to-toe. That's going to be a good one. Andy Jardy, Effie James got the call there. And last but not least, on Saturday, you can see the Lady Colts take on the Lady Lex. This is a sectional championship game on the pitch. We'll have live coverage for you folks, free of charge on our Facebook and YouTube, beginning at 3 o'clock. And speaking of those Lady Colts, they had 3 members of their squad named to the first team All-MOAC squad. So Travis is joining me again. He's back to fill you in on who all made first team selection this year. Travis, let's begin with Lady Soccer and maybe those Lady Colts, man. Who's on the list?
Avery Wend from Clear Fork, 4 goals, 3 assists. Carly McHugh from Clear Fork, first team, 6 goals, 4 assists. And Morgan Galco, 8 goals, 5 assists. Ontario, they had the most. They had 4 first teamers. Kyla Spencer, player of the year, 22 goals and 11 assists. She went all out this season. Macy Mangan, 7 goals, 7 assists. Addie Turnbaugh, a name that we all know, 5 goals, 10 assists. And Abby Porter, 13 goals, 8 assists. Larry Atkinson also was named Coach of the Year. River Valley had 2 that made it, Riley Pettit and Kensington Hage. She had 15 goals, 7 assists. Sophia Neese from Shelby, we saw her in one match against Mansfield Senior. She had 3 goals, 2 assists, more of a defender. And then Pleasant and Harding also had 1 apiece. Taylor Iden from Harding had 16 goals, 7 assists. And then Taylor Obenauer, I believe I said that right, from Pleasant also made the list.
Yeah, obviously this list is dominated by 2 teams right here in Richland County. Ontario and Clear Fork, they have been the cream of the crop since they have joined that conference, so I think it's cool that they get the accolades they deserve, and shout out to Larry. I don't know how many Coach of the Year awards he has earned, but he has definitely deserved them all.
Probably has to build a shed out back just to score everything now.
He might have one. Let's talk about the boys now. Who made the list?
Yeah, actually Galleon surprisingly had 2. They had 9 wins this year, a big jump from last season. Walker Frankhouse, Player of the Year, 18 goals, 15 assists.
Hey,
amazing
congrats.
year for him. Devin McCarthy, 10 goals, 11 assists. Pleasant had 1. Jonathan Gomez make the list. Garrett Passett from River Valley, 14 goals, 9 assists. And then Ontario and Clear Fork once again dominating the co-MOAC champions. Gage Weaver, goalie and offensive player.
Yeah, versatile kid.
Yeah, he had 18 goals, 3 assists, and then 27 saves.
Nice.
Tylen Daniels, 2 goals, 3 assists, more of a defender for Ontario, and then Boston Baxter as well, a defender. He had a goal and 2 assists. And then Clear Fork, we've seen him many times. 3 made the list, Luke Lebacki with his 6 goals, 15 assists, Seth Stoner, Wyatt Strong, and then Lane Craig from Marion Harding, and Mitchell Seckel from River Valley also making the list. Chris McClinathan from Ontario was the Coach of the Year. And also got to give a shout out to Nate Ailey from Clear Fork also for giving his Colts their first MOAC, at least a share of their first MOAC championship.
I'm sure that he definitely got some votes and
Yeah,
was
it
in
was
the
probably a
mix for
close
Coach of the Year.
1-2, but both well-deserved of the position.
But Chris just plays a little bit tougher schedule. Ontario, they've had their program rolling for about 5 solid years now. Clear Fork, we'll see. They may have a drop-off after this season. A lot of seniors, those players that you just mentioned, those are some upperclassmen they're going to be losing. But shout out to all those kids who made the list. Last but not least, let's dive into volleyball and tell you about the first team All-MOAC selections. Take it away, Trav.
8 made the list here. We had 2 from Galleon, 2 from Ontario, the top 2 finishers. Also 1 from River Valley, Pleasant, Clear Fork, Shelby. So from River Valley, Abby Waddell, 217 kills, 36 blocks, 231 digs. Marissa Pyatt from Pleasant, 102 kills, 92 digs. Becca Conrad, the tall one up front for Clear Fork, she had 240 kills and 47 blocks.
Nice.
For Galleon, the champion, Samantha Comer, 279 kills, 37 blocks, 248 digs. And then the Player of the Year, Kayla Hardy, 69 assists, 173 digs, and I guess since it is Halloween season, 666 on the assists.
Okay.
Carly Pearson and Izzy Graff for Ontario both made it. Pearson, 31 assists, 394 digs, 48 assists. Graff, 58 assists, 162 digs, and 665 on the assists to finish second. And then Cassie Stein from Shelby, 264 kills, 47 assists, and 355 digs. And then for Coach of the Year, and I believe an upset, Brandy Albert from Shelby gets the accolade this year.
Yeah, congratulations to her. I think the Whippets are just under 500, so to be Coach of the Year in the conference when you don't even have a winning record. Cool, I guess. Congratulations to Brandy for that. And congratulations to all the ladies and the gentlemen who made first team All-MOAC this season. Good job, guys. We'll have more all-conference selections next week that we'll share with you back here on the Sports Mix. But for now, that's it for us. For Erik, Will, and Travis, and Chef Boyar-G along with Storm, my name's Brian. We'll catch you next week.